Hey, this is Highland. I wanted to tell you about three different conversations I've had recently where God has used me to minister to African Christians who are going on to minister to others. The first one is with this Nigerian family that we're helping renovate a new house that they just bought. They've been really instrumental in some significant things that God has done in our lives. And I was up there. They're having me do some things like painting and some stuff with the walls, but there's another crew that's contracted there, and they're doing the big heavy duty projects. Well, that crew almost exclusively speaks Spanish. And so I brought my Spanish Bible up there one day thinking, oh, maybe I'll give this away to someone. And it turns out the owner of the house was there. He said, hey, I'm going to try and talk to this guy. I'm going to share the gospel with him. So I went out to my car and I said, hey, I brought a Spanish Bible. You can give this to him if you want. And he was so touched by that. He was super excited. So he went there and he did later that day share the gospel with the contractor. And he was, sort of receptive, but a little bit resistant at the same time. And I've been praying for him ever since. But I told the owner, this is your first conversation that you've gotten to witness the gospel at your new house, and you don't even live here yet. The second one, and this is really cool. We were at this food distribution outreach, and I saw a woman waiting in the lobby. So my teammate and I went up and asked if we could pray for her. She said, yeah, I have high blood pressure. So we're praying for her. And she actually physically felt some kind of sensation in her body. And was really cool. She was really excited. She recognized that the presence of the Lord was there. That was cool. She's a Christian. And so afterwards, my teammate and I, we went outside and we were talking for a little bit. We're talking about languages. And I see this woman we just prayed for. And I said, hey, how many languages do you speak? And she said, more than all of you, which I thought was funny. And I knew was true because this woman sounded like she was from Africa. And if you've ever met an African person, chances are they probably speak more languages than you do, especially if you're born here in the U.S. But the woman went on to talk about this time that she spent in China, and I eventually asked her, so how long ago did you move away from Togo? And she said, well, how did you know I was from Togo? And I said, well, you told me. And she said, no, I didn't tell you. And I looked over at my teammate and she's like, no, she didn't tell you. And it was the craziest thing. God had given me a word of knowledge about this woman being from Togo. And I don't know if you've ever had a word of knowledge. I believe they're biblical. You see them in the scriptures, but it's the weirdest thing. You have this knowledge that just is sort of there. And I, filled in the blanks in my own mind from where it came from. And I thought, oh, this woman told me she's from Togo, but it was actually just the Lord that had put it there in my mind. And so God really used that in my conversation because, first of all, she saw that the Holy Spirit was working there. But secondly, the people from Togo here in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, there's not a big community of them. And I had ministered to a couple from Togo a year ago and had prayed for their fertility. And so I asked this woman from Togo, I was like, hey, do you know this couple? And she said, actually, I think I know the wife. And so I told her, go and ask her if God has answered our prayers about fertility, because I had prayed for her a year ago about this, and I am really excited to see if the Lord has answered that. The third conversation was one I just had. There's a guy I know from Ethiopia. We led him to the Lord about 3 years ago. That's a story for another time. It's so good. But I get together with him every so often, and each time I get to hear about how he is witnessing to people at his work. He gets prophetic dreams for them. He shares the gospel. He has little booklets that he carries with him so he can witness to them. And I just got to hear another one of those stories from him now. It's always so exciting. It's like having spiritual grandchildren because he's leading people to the Lord, and it's super fun. So thanks for praying for me as I go out and do this. Please pray for the African people in the Twin Cities who are Christians, because they are carrying the torch of the gospel to this city, just right alongside of those of us who are here natively from the Twin Cities. So keep them in your prayers too, even as you're praying for me.